When you first open OBS, you may be presented with an auto configuration wizard. They want to configure whether you want to optimize this program for streaming or recording. In our case, we're going to be optimizing this for recording because we're not streaming from our individual computers. If you were going to stream from your computers, you would select the first one. In our case, we'll be selecting the second. Then press Next. We also want to set a base canvas resolution. In our case, we want to set it to 1920 by 1080. And then the current frames should be 30 frames. This is FPS, stands for frames per second. Then press Next. You want to ensure that everything is correct, as seen here, and then say Apply Settings. So this is OBS. OBS is laid out in a way that you can see the output or our preview screen here at the top. And then down at the bottom there are some docks or some panels. You will see there's the panel Scenes, Sources, Audio Mixer, Scene Transitions, and Controls. These are also available underneath the Docks menu, and you can turn them on or off. You could also click and drag them around to rearrange them if you would like, even if you place them on top of each other or in a tab sort of way. You can move these and adjust their sizes however you need to make your workspace comfortable. At the top of View, you can also reset the UI to go back to the default form. In this default form, the Scenes tab is down at the bottom left. A scene is a particular view that you're using to put together your broadcast or your TV show. This scene is called Scene and it is blank right now. There's nothing inside of it. Inside of scenes are sources or different various materials, images, videos, or anything that would belong to a scene. As an example, here is Scene 1. I can right-click on this and rename it Scene 1 if I would like to, or anything else. In my case, since we are doing a TV show, I'm going to call this Anchor Desk. Inside of my Anchor Desk, I'm going to need a background, a desk, and a video camera. You can see down here there is a plus sign that allows me to add any of these type of media to my scene. In this case, I want to use a video, so I'm going to use media source. My background image is a video called the background. Please rename this something that is different than your scene name. These have to be unique. Background image or video. I'm going to say OK. And then this brings up a properties for the background video. If it is a local file, which means it is on your computer, you can then browse for this. I have mine saved underneath backgrounds, and I have the soft BG background here. Since I want this to be continuous, I'm going to loop my background. There's an option for looping it. We can restart the playback when the source becomes active, or we can show nothing when the playback ends. I want mine to always be looping, so I'm going to uncheck show nothing when playback ends. And I like it to start at the beginning, so I'm going to keep reset playback when source becomes active. There's more options if you scroll down, including the speed, the color range, and some other options we're not going to explain. I then say OK. My image is now shown in my sources as background video and will show up in my preview pane. I'm now going to add the desk. Again, I'm going to press the plus button here, and I'm going to say image, because this is an image of a desk. I'm going to call this my desk image, say OK, and it's going to look for an image file. Again, go to Browse, and this one is called Bulldog Desk, and I'm going to open it. And then say OK when I'm done. So I have my desk on top of my background, and you'll see in my Scenes panel that the desk is on top of the background. If we were to move this down, you can see the desk is now behind the background or below it in the scenes panel. So these are layered in a way that allows you to hide or show based on the stack order in the sources. Great. You'll also notice that this has some anchors on the corner, and that will allow you to resize the image. You can also grab and move the image so that you can place it as needed and lay out your scene as you would like. You can select other objects and do the same thing, where I can drag and make them smaller or bigger. Once they are where you'd like them to be, you can also lock them. There is a lock available so that I don't accidentally drag in a particular source. You could also show or hide them as necessary using the eyeball. Another source that you will want to do is the video camera. So if you press plus here again, you could also say video capture device. When you do this, you want to call this whatever it is the name of your camera. And this one, in case it's my iMac camera, I'm going to say OK. There is a device where you can select any device that is connected to your computer. And in this case, I only have my FaceTime HD camera. So I'm going to select it, and there you can see I'm right here. I am looking off to the right, but that's okay. My preset is going to be a 1080 by 1920 by 1080, and then I'm going to say OK, and there I am on the screen. I can go ahead and make this smaller and then drag it where we'd like. If you were using one of the cameras, like as you see behind me here, we would also knock out the green screen and place you directly in front of this computer desk, and that's how we would do this anchor scene. Pretty cool, huh? The other thing you need to know is that there are many different scenes, including the scene for the next one we want to do here, which is just a video segment. So down at the bottom right hand corner in your scenes panel, there is a plus button. You're going to click that plus button and call this my video segment. And this is just going to be for adding any videos that you want to add to your broadcast. In our sources, again, down here, as good practice, you're going to press that plus button. And then I'm going to go to media source. And this is going to be my video segment. And I'm going to say OK. This one is already in use. You cannot use the same name twice. Since my scene is called video segment, I cannot use this video segment as a source. It has to be a different name. So again, this is a local file. I do not want this to loop since this is only going to be played one time. I do want it to start at the beginning, so I'm going to keep this active. And when the playback ends, I want to show nothing. I'm now going to browse and find a video that I'm going to utilize. In this case, we're going to utilize something in here, announcements video. And then say OK. If it is too small, you can go ahead and right click on this and say transform and fit to screen. That's a handy thing to know. Or you could have just dragged it up and down. As you can see in our audio mixer, it does have some audio. We want to make sure that we adjust the level of the audio so it's not too quiet or too loud. You will also notice that there is a stop and a pause button here, and my video is actually progressing along, as you can see on this timeline. You'll also see that there is the amount of seconds that have played and the total amount of seconds that are left. This video has 2 minutes left. That is how we create a video segment scene. You'll notice that in my scene, the video segment is blue. That makes that the active scene. If I wanted to switch back to my anchor desk, I can do that by clicking on my other scene. Back to the anchor. And then, if you want, you can move back to your video segment by clicking again. You'll notice that it started at the beginning because we had told it to reset playback when we moved to scenes. The next scene I'd like to set up is the lunch scene. So we're going to press plus add, and we're going to call this the lunch. And we're going to say OK. And this one is actually going to be a browser. So this one we're going to show the contents of a browser. Going to go ahead and click OK, create new browser here. And the lunch, we're going to call this the lunch menu. And say OK. And then this one is going to be a file that I already got open over here. We are going to copy and paste into this URL of the location that we want for our browser. We also want to tell it the width that we want to show. Since I broadcast in 1080p, we are going to have a width of 1920 and a height of 1080. We can control the audio via the USB, and we can shut down the source when not visible. But in our case, we want to keep it as is, and then we can refresh the cache to see it as well. And then say OK. It is going to provide actual lunch menu or our browser, and you can see it's available here. We can also add in a person or a video on top of this in order to complete this segment. So I'm going to add a media source, and I had created an animate from audio in the Adobe Express, and this is Lindsay doing the lunch. And I say OK, and I do not want to loop this. I do want to reset it when the playback becomes active and show nothing when playback ends. I'm going to deselect that because I want that character still standing there when we finish. I'm now going to browse for this, and I called it the Lindsay lunch. I'm going to say open. Again, keep it at the normal speed, and then OK. This is a video of the character that we created in Express, and they are reading off the menu of the lunch. As you can see, there is a green background, and we want to get rid of that. To do that, we go to Filters, and then to Effects, and say Plus, and then Chroma Key, and say OK, which is the name of it. And here are our settings for the chroma key. We want our key color type to be green. We can adjust the similarity of that green, the smoothness of that green, and any spill reduction, and change any other settings as we see as fit well here. There it is, and you can see that I can now adjust this person to have them be a little bit to the side so that when we set this, they are reading the lunch menu to us. Another scene that we can do here is I'm going to press plus, and we're going to call this the joke scene. Say OK. My background here is going to be an image. I'm going to call this the comedy club background. Say OK. Browse for this, and we should have in our backgrounds a comedy club. Say OK. It fills up the whole space, which is great. And again, I had gone to Adobe Express and had created a cartoon character naming a joke. So I'm going to go to Media Source and call this the Buster joke. Browse, here's my Bluster joke. Again, this is the local file. It's not a loop. We do want it to restart. And we want to actually allow it to stay at the end there. Say OK. Here's Bluster giving a joke. Again, here's my filters. I want to get rid of the green screen. Click on Filters, press plus. Here's Chroma Key. We're going to name it Chroma Key again. These are great settings if we bring this in as is. And sure enough, here is Bluster handing off a joke. Next thing we can do is I'm going to actually do some weather. So we're going to add a scene here. We're going to call this the weather. And I have created a file that will automatically generate the weather for me. It is a browser. It is an offline file. We're going to call this the weather report. And this is going to be a local file because I actually created a local browser file. And I'm going to browse for that right now. I called is the 14-day forecast. Open that. The width, again, since my broadcast is 1080, is going to be 920. The height is going to be 1080. And we're going to keep everything else as is and say OK. And there is my weather report. We also have the option of interacting with our browser. So if we need to make some adjustments on our browser, we can do that by clicking this interactive button. When I do that, it allows me to interact with it like it's a normal browser. In the case of this file, I actually made it so that if I clicked on one of these, it would disappear so I can do some future forecasting. So I'm going to get rid of Monday and Tuesday. That way I'm broadcasting my Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday weather instead of just the Monday one. Now I can go ahead and do the recording like we did in Adobe Animate of the weather and add that in. Once we have our collection of scenes, you can see I can move through them so that I can have my broadcast built by going through each individual scene. On the right-hand side is a start streaming, a start recording, studio mode, and exit. And in this case, we actually want to go to our settings here. We want to make sure that when we record, we're going to output this to a certain spot on our computer. There is an output option here. And this output option is simple, and that's okay. Here is our recording path, which is the folder that we want to record to. You might make this something custom for yourself. I'm going to go ahead and say in movies, but I'm going to say new folder and call this my OBS broadcasts. And this is where all of my recordings will end up. It is important that we record in a format that we like to use. This Matrosaka video is not exactly what we're looking for. We want an MP4 file. We also want to ensure that if we're going to record audio tracks, that all of them are active. And then we say OK. Now, if I go back to my anchor desk, I can press Start Recording. And it's currently recording a broadcast, which is great. As an anchor, I want to say, hey, welcome everybody. Our first video segment is about making announcements, and here is that video segment. And then move to video segment scene. That makes this scene active, and the video will play. To make sure we're not going to make this video too long, I'm going to move on. I'm going to go back to the anchor desk and say, hey, that was a great video segment report. How awesome. Now we have a wonderful, funny joke by Bluster the Snowman. Click to my joke scene. You can see that the joke is currently going, which is awesome. He only has 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 left. And then we go back to our anchor scene. We do this for every scene that we're going to utilize. My last scene is the weather. So I'm going to say, here's off to the weather. And then we would have our person explain the weather here. When we are done, we say stop recording. That will produce a video file in the area that we told it to record. In our case, it was in movies, and underneath the OBS broadcast, here is a recording of my broadcast. That's the basics of OBS. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you utilize it, and let's go ahead and put some things together.